A lot of people are really interested about what it's like being around the cars that I see every day. They have questions about what it's like to work as a super luxury or exotic car salesperson. How did I get into this role? Where did I start? And also some of the stories that I've created along the way. Well, today I'm going to answer all those questions and show you an inside tour of what it's like to work at Aston Martin. Let's go for a drive. So my name's Alek Ackerman. I work as a sales specialist at Aston Martin, Uptown Toronto. Born and raised in Canada. I spent a lot of time overseas though as a child because my father was a travel writer. So growing up in India, Nepal, Kathmandu, Sri Lanka, Tonga, and then also here in Canada. We also spent a couple of years where we toured right across the country. My father used to work for Southern Group, so we went from tip to tip of the country. It was a really, really cool experience. We drove, so it kind of, I guess maybe from a very young age, I was constantly in cars. From a very young age. I mean, we were always around cars, when I was growing up, me and everyone else in my family. My uncle was obsessed with hot rodding, so I mean, I had, even at 6 and 7 years old, he was showing me how manual transmissions work and how to properly engage a clutch and stuff like that. Even when I was starting off in my, very, very early days in my career, I worked at Staples, humble beginning, and when I worked with them, every day I'd be coming up to the copy and print center and like on one of those Windows XP computers showing them cool cars that were coming out at the time. This is Porsche's making an SUV, isn't that crazy? And everyone was like, when are you going to start selling cars? When are you going to get into cars? Or when are you going to be around cars? I have, ever since I was a really young kid, right? I mean, every year my father, he would actually bring me to the auto show. And when I was really, really young, I was homeschooled because we spent so much time all over the world. So one year when we went to the auto show, we got in with Media Day because I was doing a radio show for a local university radio station. And we go in and we have pretty much unrestricted access to all the vehicles that are there at the show, which was awesome. This was just after they had introduced the Aston Martin Vanquish. So we go to Grand Touring's exhibit. They had all these beautiful English cars there on display, and they were all essentially unlocked for the press to look at. So we go up and we have a look, and we see the Rolls Royce, we see the Bentley, and then there's the Aston Martin. And I remember just my eyes, they went like giant golf balls. It was like the coolest thing ever. And I got this one photo from my childhood of me sitting in the Vanquish, the first year that it came out. And even today, it's moments like that as a child that really stir sentiments, and you really remember those things. And since that moment, I was just an Aston fan through and through. Absolutely. I mean, there's so many different components of the Aston Martin brand that are awesome. And the fact that they're incredible driver engaging vehicles, the design. I mean, we look at certain vehicles like the DB11, and you've got what is probably the best designer of this generation who worked on that car, and you look back to vehicles like the DB9 that are icons of their time. The way that they drive is incredible. It's outstanding. It's very, very unique. It's this GT, feel, how it's a cruiser, it's comfortable, it's luxurious, it's crafted. But then at the same time, they can also be incredibly daring sports cars where you have this, this feel through the suspension and the steering that is very manual in essence, and it's very, very difficult to find that feel in any other brand. The craftsmanship would probably be an area that's one of my favorite areas of Aston Martin. I mean, we talk about craftsmanship. Some of these cars, they take as much as 80 hours to build. and to assemble. The Bridge of Weir leather connection is an outstanding partnership that Aston Martin's had since the 1950s. Bridge of Weir is the largest, or sorry, not the largest, but the oldest family-owned leather house in the world. They're in Scotland, and they've been manufacturing all the leather hides for Aston Martin since, again, 1950s. The process they have for this is outstanding. These guys supplied the best leathers in the world, and even with them, it's 1 out of 100 of the hides that they have is actually good enough to make its way to the inside of an Aston Martin. Oh, favorite movie? That's a difficult question to ask. Well, you know, I obviously love James Bond and the James Bond franchise. There's so many great movies in the James Bond series. Having said that, though, I think favorite movie would be The Italian Job, but not the Marky Mark one, like the actual real Italian Job from the 1960s. If we think about it, it's got Michael Caine, which immediately makes it awesome. But then for cars, it has the Aston Martin DB4, it has the Jaguar XKE in a coupe and a convertible, awesome. It's got the baddies driving around in Alfa Romeos and Fiats, also awesome. It's got the Minis, it's got Land Rover Discovery. It has basically every influential car of that generation, so definitely, hands down, The Italian Job. A close second though, if it was a James Bond movie, has to be Goldfinger. I mean, you got Connery at his best, you've got the DB5 in Switzerland, original Ford Mustang, like the year it came out. Awesome movie. I drive the cars pretty much every day. It's a daily occurrence. We have to move them around. Sometimes it's moving customers' cars up for them to take home. Sometimes it's moving the cars around the showroom. We're definitely in and out of the cars every day, but it's something that you do start to get used to. And when you drive them every day, you start to see the characteristics of each car, and you see how there is family resemblance naturally between platforms, the VH platform, that we've seen on the DB9, the V8 Vantage, the Aston Martin Rapide, and then also the new platform that was debuted for the DB11. My favorite driving road? That's another tricky question. I kind of, I take my little nest egg of money that I have and I try to create a bucket list of roads, and then I go there and I drive them. So I would say that if I had to choose one, it would be the Stelvio Pass. The Stelvio Pass is something else. If you've never heard of it, Google it. If you have heard of it, you might be able to imagine what it kind of looks like. It's the second highest mountain pass in Europe. It runs between Italy and Switzerland. It's 50 vertical or near vertical switchbacks that go up the side of this mountain. Actually, it might be just under 50. It might be like 49, 48. And it takes about 3 hours to go up, and it takes about 3 hours to come back down. It's seen in Italy as like a rite of passage to being a man. So like when you become an adult, you have to do the Stelvio. And if you can do the Stelvio, then like you're a full-grown adult. I did it in a Cinquecento Abarth SA 2 years ago. And when we were going up, it was incredible. We were driving alongside these Rolls Royces because they were having a Rolls Royce hill climb that day. On the way back down, we had run of the place. So we were just beating the daylights out of this car. And I ran into a power steering failure where the vehicle steering just totally gave out on me. And then brake fade, so I'm using engine braking with the manual transmission, but it was incredible. If I had a close second though, it would be just off the Autostrada along the Italian and French Rivieras, from basically San Remo to Monaco. I just love that road. But the problem with that one is in the summertime, it's like gridlock the whole way, so you have to drive it in like January, February. But I did that this last year. Me and my cousin drove to see the Monaco classic, like historic rally in February, and it was just incredible experience, to say the least. Well, there's a lot of great driving roads in Ontario. There's a certain kind of client who comes in and say, oh, these cars, there's nowhere good to drive them here. Too bad you don't have the roads in Europe. That's not necessarily true. You just got to find them. There's a couple of especially good roads that I really like. The Forks of Credit would be one of them, and it's just 45 minutes outside of Toronto, and you're having the time of your life on that road, well within the speed limits that are posted. Other ones, Rattlesnake Point down towards the escarpment, you know, I've got another one which I'll maybe in a little while reveal. It's one of my favorite B driving roads, but I'd even compare that to, I would call it Canada's Nürburgring. That's how good it is. Thanks for watching the video. We have new videos like this coming out every Wednesday. Remember to subscribe for more, and also like and comment.